there, guys. For today's 2-minute tip, I wanted to talk about multi-unit franchise ownership. So I think the conversations that I've been having lately is that there's tends to be an assumption that to make money in franchise space, you need to have multiple units. And I think it's important to understand that it truly depends on the industry and what you're trying to build. So let's talk a little bit just around multi-unit in general. So when you are awarded a franchise, you pay a franchise fee. It's a single unit franchise. And in item 12, it talks about the territory that you own for your franchise system. And so that territory is going to be very different depending on the industry. So I'm sure that you are understanding that restaurants usually have a little bit of a tighter territory. People just aren't going to travel as far to a franchise restaurant. So they'll tighten that up a little bit. I work with some franchises that are more B2B, doing a service-based businesses, meaning their customers are vendors, and their franchise territories are actually can be quite large, 500,000, a million people in population. So I think the first thing to keep in mind is that depends on the industry on if you even need to consider if multi-unit franchise ownership makes sense for you. But the other thing to think about is the fact that not all franchisors will even allow you to start out with too big of a territory anymore. They really want you to scale and grow in your market and not really think about leave money on the table because your territory is so big that you can't service it. So multi-unit territory comes with the responsibility of building out your market and optimizing your entire market. And you're going to have a development schedule that you're going to need to open into those markets in a certain amount of time. While it's important to think about, I want to talk to you as you're starting to explore businesses. I want to talk to you about what you're trying to do for your end game. And then we also have to talk about your market. So we are multi-unit franchise owners and we own 2 territories. That's plenty of market for us. It's plenty big enough for us. There's franchise owners are in Dallas or in Charlotte and in larger markets that 2 territories for them might feel small. They might feel kind of boxed in by some of the other franchise owners in the system. And so for them, making that decision, they might choose multiple ownership in order to have a larger territory, establish branding power, marketing, things like that. And so I think the most important thing for this tip is don't automatically assume that you're going to need multi-units to achieve your goals. If you want to build a big empire type business, we can talk about what that looks like. If really the bottom line is cash flow and a certain income potential, then we can talk about the item 19 and the item 7 and the industry in general to determine is that franchise system, is a single territory going to get you to your goal? And let me tell you, many, many times it will. So give that some thought. I just don't want you automatically assuming that if you want to make $1 million in franchising that you must have multiple territories. We need to think about the different responsibilities that go along with committing to a multi-unit ownership play. Hope that helped.